Hello everyone, in this video we are going to learn about the multi-plot grids and following are the topics that we are going to discuss. Firstly, we will understand what are multi-plot grids, then we will discuss what different ways we use to draw the multi-plot grids in Seaborn library. After that, we will discuss about the facet grid class and then we will see an example for creating the multi-plot grids using a matplotlib. So let's begin by understanding what is multi-plot grids. So, multi-plot grids is a useful approach to render multiple instances of the same plot on a different subset of your data. Basically, it enables a viewer to rapidly extract a significant amount of a data from a complicated data set. And this method, which is associated with the concept of a small multiples, is frequently referred as a lattice or trellis plotting. So, now we will discuss what are the different ways to draw these multiple plot grids in Seaborn. So there are two ways. The first, you can use the facet grid method, and the next one you can implicitly use the matplotlib. So let's firstly understand what is facet grid. So when we wish to view the distribution of a variable or the interaction between other variables independently inside subset of your data set, the facet grid class can be helpful. And the row, column and hue are the three possible dimensions that can be used to draw the facet grid. Or in simple words, you can say that a facet grid function is used to create multiple Seaborn plots in one figure. And the syntax of this function is Seaborn dot facet grid, and in parentheses we pass different parameters. The first one is data. It is the data set that is being used, and the next one is keyword argument. It accepts a variety of inputs including row, call, hue, palette, etc. So now we will see different example related to facet grid. So here is the code. Firstly, we will learn to import the libraries and the data set. So for this, I import the necessary libraries first. So I write a command import Seaborn as SNS and import matplotlib pyplot as PLT, as we need two important libraries, Seaborn and matplotlib. After that, I call the load underscore dataset function as I want to read the predefined dataset named as a taxi, which I passed as an argument, and I assign a variable data underscore set to this function. Then I call the head function with an argumental value 3 as I want to read the first three entries of the dataset, and for printing it I call the print function. Now I execute this cell, and here you can see that this data set contains data of the passengers who takes the taxi, and it shows its pickup point, drop off point, passengers, distance traveled, fare, tip, total, toll amount given. And this data set contains data of the passenger who taken taxi, including whether they have left the tip for the driver or not, the date and time of the pickup and drop off zone, the number of passengers, the distance travel, the fare, the total amount or the tolls given to the driver, and the pickup and drop off zone and pickup and drop off brow. And it also includes the payment mechanism and the color of the taxis that passenger use. So now we will move to the example related to the facet grid. So firstly, I want to change the appearance of the plot. For this reason, I call the set function, pass style as a keyword argument to it, and set its value to white grid. After that, I call the facet grid function to create a multiple Seaborn plot of the taxis dataset in a one figure. So I pass a data as a keyword argument and set its value to data underscore set, which is taken from here, which is variable which we assign to the taxis dataset. And addition to this, I pass the call as a keyword argument to define the subset of the plots on a different facet, such as a color in this case, and the hue keyword argument is also passed to group the payment data point with different colors. So the facet function only creates the multiple plots, not the specific plot on it. So for this reason, we have to call the facet grid map function. So I assign pt underscore 1 variable to the facet grid function, and I call this map function with respect to this pt underscore 1 variable. And this function is used for visualizing the data on the grid. And here you can see that I pass the plotting function, which is a scatter plot, and the name of the data frame variable, which is distance and the total to the plot. So it will create a scatter plot with these two data points. And I also adjust the transparency of the graph plot as I pass the alpha as a keyword argument and I set its value to 0.8. After that, I want to add a ligand on the plot. For this reason, I call the add underscore ligand function with respect to pt underscore one variable, and last I call the show function to display the plot on the user screen. And here I execute this cell and I will show you the output, how this plot looks. So here is the output. You can see that the x-axis of the plot represent the distance and the y-axis of the plot represent the total. It automatically creates two plots. And here, as I set the column as a color, so the first column represent the yellow color and the second column represent the green color. And as I set the hue as a payment, it will show the payment on the ligand size, and it show the blue color represent the credit card and the orange color represent the cash. So now we will move ahead and see one more example. So here I again call the set function as I want to change the appearance of the plot, and I pass style as a keyword argument, and this time I set its style to the dark grid. Then I call the facet grid function to create a multiple Seaborn plots of the Texas dataset in a one figure, and additionally I pass the col as a keyword argument to define the subset of the plot on a different facet, and this case I use the color. And I also pass col underscore wrap as a keyword argument which specify the number of the plot to be displayed per row. Then I call the map function of the facet grid for visualizing the data on the grid, and here I pass the plotting function as a hist plot and the name of the data frame variable tolls to plot, and then I call the show function to display the plot. So this time it will create a histogram plot. So here the x-axis represent the tolls, y-axis represent the count, and the column represent the color. The first column represent the yellow color, the second column represent the green color, and it will wrap the column to per rows and it will show the histogram. So let's see what will happen if we change the col underscore wrap value to 1 and execute the code. So now you can see that it will create a one plot per row. As I have specified the col underscore wrap equals to 1, which means it have to show only one plot in a one specific row. So I hope you will understand what this col underscore wrap keyword does. So I again change it to 2. So it will show you two columns per row. So let's move ahead and see one more example. So I again call the set function to change the parents pass style as a keyword argument, and this time I set the style to text. So next I call the facet grid function to create multiple Seaborn plots of the Texas dataset in one figure. Additionally, I pass the row and the column keyword argument to define the subset of the plots on a different facet, such as color and the payment in this case, and the margin underscore tiles keyword argument is also passed to display the row variable tiles at the right side of the final column, and for this we have to set its bool value to true. Then I call the map function with respect to pt underscore 3 variable, and I pass the plotting function as a reg plot, so it will create the reg plot, and the name of the data frame variables fair and the tip to the plot. I also pass a color keyword argument to apply one color to all the elements of the plot, and I set its value to R, which means red, and I also pass fit underscore reg and x jitter keyword argument, and I set the fit underscore reg argument to false and fit underscore jitter keyword argument to 0.2. Basically it adds uniform random noise, and then I call the show function as I want to display the plot. Now I execute this cell and show you the output. So here you can see that the y-axis represent the tip and the x-axis represent the fair, and here above it will show that the column represent the payment as a credit card in the first case, and in second case it represent payment as a cash, as we set the column value to the payment, and then I set row to the color. So it will show row wise color. So the first row set the color to yellow and the second row set the color to green. Here you can see that I pass a margin underscore tiles to true. So you can see that it will show the row variable tiles at the right hand side of the final column. So let's see what will happen if we set its value to false. So now I execute this cell and show you. So here you can see that now it show the column and the row values at the above of the plots. But if we set this value to true, it will show only the row variable tiles at the right hand side of the final column. So I hope you will understand this example. So now we will see one more, and this time I again set the style by passing a style keyword argument to the set function, and I set its value to white. Then I call the facetgrid function to create a multiple Seaborn plots of the Texas dataset. Additionally, I pass a row keyword argument to define the subset of the plot on a different facet such as a passenger. I also pass accept and a height as a keyword argument to set each facet accept ratio, which is calculated as a accept into height and the height of each facet in inches respectively, and height is set to 4.5 and facet is set to 0.9. Then to add a plot on the grid, I call the map function with respect to the pt underscore 4 variable, which I assign to the facet grid function as it visualizes the data on the grid, and I pass the plotting function as a bar plot, name of the data frame variable as a color and the tip to the plot, and I also pass the order as a keyword argument to set the order of the x-axis of the bars, and then I call the show function to display the plot. Now I execute this cell and show you the output, how the plots look. So here you can see that here is the first plot which shows with the 0 passenger. The next one is passenger 1 plot. The third one is with passenger 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So here the x-axis represent the color and the y-axis represent the tip. The first bar represent the yellow taxi and the second bar represent the green taxi. So yellow and green is specified with this. So the yellow and the green is specified with the ordered keyword argument. So you can change this order also. I will show you. As I have specified the order as a yellow and green, it will show first yellow then green. If you don't specify this keyword argument, I will show you by erasing it. I remove this order keyword and now I execute this cell. So you can firstly see that it will show you the warning first. Using the bar plot function without specifying the order is likely to produce incorrect plot. So you have to specify this order, and I will show you one more thing. So you can see that it will show you the first bar as a yellow and the second as a green, but maybe sometime it incorrectly plotted. For this reason you have to specify the order keyword argument. So I specified green again and now I change it order. Firstly I specify to the green and the next I change it to the yellow, and now I execute this and show you. So now you can see that it changed the order and it shows you the first one is green and the second one is yellow. So with this we have learned about the facet grid function. So now we will move ahead and learn to create the multi-plot grids using the matplotlib. So we will understand this concept with the help of only example, as you have already learned it in the case of the matplotlib to create a grid. So I am not going to repeat it again. So I will show you the example. So firstly we have to import the necessary libraries. So I import the Seaborn and the matplotlib library. Then I change the parents of the plot by calling the set function, passing style as a keyword argument, and I set its style to the text. After that I create a 6 subplots using the subplots function, and I assign pig and the axis variable to it, and I pass 2 as the row number and 3 as the column number to the function parameter. Additionally I change its pig size to 18 as width and 10 as a height, it both are in inches. Then I want to add a super title on the plot. For this reason I call the subtitle function with respect to the figure, and I pass a subtitle as a multiple plot grids. Then I import the data set. I am using the Texas data set which I already defined you, and for importing it I use the similar way load underscore dataset function, and I assign a data underscore set variable to it. Then we have to create a different plot. So for this I write this code. So now I will explain you. So in the first case you can see that I create a bar plot. For this reason I call the bar plot function, and in this I pass a keyword argument ax, and I specify the axis as a 0 0, means 0 row 0 column, and I pass axis value as a 0 0, as I want to create this bar plot with this reference, and I pass the data as a keyword argument, set its value to data underscore set, as I want to use the data set Texas, and I set the x value to the color and the y value to the total. The next case I want to create a box plot, so I call the box plot function with reference to the axis 0 1, and I want to display x-axis as a color and the y-axis as a pair. Next I want to create the scatter plot with reference to the axis 0 and 2, and I set its x-axis to the color and the y-axis to the tips. In the fourth case I want to create a violin plot, and with respect to axis 1 and 0, and I set its x-axis to color and the y-axis to 2. In the fifth case I want to create a bar plot again, but this time I want to create it with the axis 1 and 1, and I also set its axis value to the color but y-axis value to the passengers. And in the last case I want to plot a bar plot with respect to the axis 1 and 2, and if x-axis shows the color and the y-axis shows the distance, then I call the show function. Now I execute this cell and show you the output. So here you can see that it shows me the subtitle as a multi-plot grid. The first one is a bar plot. It shows x-axis as a color and the y-axis as a total. The second plot is as a box plot. It shows x-axis as a color and the y-axis as a pair. The third one is a scatter plot. It shows the x-axis as a color and the y-axis as a tips. The fourth one is violin plot. It shows x-axis as a color and the y-axis as a tool. The fifth one is again bar plot, but it shows x-axis as a color and the y-axis as a passenger. And the last one shows a box plot with x-axis color and the y-axis distance. So by using the matplotlib subplots concept, we will create multiple grids or multiple plots in one figure, create raw, and to visualize the data on these multiple plots, we will call the different function of the Seaborn library, such as bar plot, box plot, scatter plot, violin plot, and with respect to specific axis, we plot these functions. So with this, we have learned about multi-plot grids in Seaborn library.